Am I the a-hole for demanding my fiancé pay me back for selling my train collection? I, 28 female, lived with my aunt and uncle as my parents could not raise me. My uncle started collecting trains as a hobby when he was working as an engineer. I took a huge interest in them as a child and teenager. My uncle gave me his entire train collection when he became sick. When I turned 19, I moved out and found a nice apartment near my college, and I brought the collection with me. Some of my friends thought it was cool, others find it weird. I met my boyfriend at college, and he moved in with me after we graduated. We got engaged last year and are currently struggling with debt, student loans, and a wedding. My fiancé asked if we could have an expert come into the apartment and price the train collection. I was against the idea and told him that I would not sell the collection as it was a large memory of my uncle. My best friend got engaged this past weekend, and a few of us went to celebrate at our parents' lake house. I was gone for 2 nights, and when I returned, the train collection was completely gone. My fiancé came running over saying that a collector came and gave him a decent price for the set. I started crying and yelling at him that he destroyed my trust and told him to leave the apartment. He left without protest and has been staying with his parents. I told him that he had to pay me back all the money and had threatened to sue him as well. His parents are trying to argue that he was only doing what was best for the both of us. Am I the a-hole for demanding my fiancé pay me back for selling my train collection? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your fiancé stole and sold a train collection without your consent. Please go back to that collector and explain the situation. File a police report and sue your fiancé for grand theft. And OP, please break up with him because he completely betrayed your trust. You cannot get married to someone who has no respect for you. What an awful man. File a police report. Your ex committed a crime, and depending on the value, a very serious crime. Provide a police report to the collector so they clearly understand they purchased stolen goods. Also, that collector could be shady too. He purchased it likely knowing your ex didn't really own it. Yes, it's a stretch to assume the collector knew the ex didn't have permission to sell them. I made that assumption thinking that the ex didn't know anything about the trains and possibly stated they were his girlfriend's trains. Not the a-hole, but you can report that collection as stolen, so you could potentially get it all back. The sale of stolen goods is not legal. I would act fast though, checking with police, because depending on that collector who bought it, they might be selling off some of the pieces and then it might be impossible to get them all back. And I'm giving you the money got from selling your stuff isn't even an apology. I wouldn't act like it was. The money is yours, completely yours, and probably is worth way less than the actual collection. Do not touch that money though. Report the whole thing as stolen. If you get the money, it could be argued you knew and benefited from the sale. And this is a pretty good insight for how he will act during your marriage. Going behind your back to make what should be joint decisions after you already said no. Keeping that money as his own. Saying that he knows best to do what's good for both of you without taking your opinion into account. Yes, OP, please don't take the money and file a police report. Not the a-hole. Demand to give you the name of the collector so you can contact them and let them know the collection was stolen and they need to return it. Let them know they will get their money back. Tell him if he doesn't give them money and contact information for the collector, you will involve the police. Do the same if the collector refuses to return them. Tell them they are in possession of stolen property, and you will involve the police if necessary. This is not a man you want to marry, as painful as it is. He violated your trust, stole from you, and took away a family heirloom. He has no respect for you or your feelings. You need to end a relationship before he does something worse. No threats. Just involve the police. Your boyfriend stole and sold stolen goods. Go get your stuff back and put him in jail. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for causing a scene at my sister's wedding after I found out she tricked me into showing up without my boyfriend? Hi, I, female 30, have been with my boyfriend Ryan for over 5 years. I haven't told anyone yet, but I'm pregnant. It wasn't planned, but we decided to keep it. My family and Ryan have a good relationship, although they tend to have disagreements once in a while. My older sister's wedding was a week ago. When I received my invitation, I read that +1 aren't allowed. It's either engaged or married partners. I didn't know what to feel about this, and I tried contacting my sister about this rule and see if she could make Ryan an exception. But she told me it's a rule that everyone had to follow, and said she could talk to Ryan. Ryan said I should not miss my sister's wedding because of him and urged me to go. I felt guilty, but decided to go anyway. When I showed up, I noticed guests had brought +1s. I'm talking about family members that are neither engaged nor married. My 3 female cousins brought their jokester boyfriends, and even my aunt brought a friend from work. I was confused and angry. I walked up to my sister and loudly demanded that she explain why I wasn't allowed to bring my boyfriend while everyone else was. She and her husband tried to get me to quiet down, but it was too late because there were people standing watching us argue. My sister said I was disrupting the wedding over nothing, and that I shouldn't make a big deal over it. But it was a big deal for me because Ryan was excluded like he was a stranger, while my cousin's boyfriends weren't. Mom and Aunt tried getting me to sit down, but I told my sister that Ryan is and will always be family, and she not only disrespected him by excluding him, but disrespected me too and our relationship as well. Not only that, but I told her he's the father of my child, which had a family instantly guessed that I was pregnant. I left after the argument, and my family berated me later about making a scene at my sister's wedding and ruining everything she worked for. They also said that it was low of me to indirectly announce my pregnancy like that and try to add insult to injury. My sister and her husband are expecting an apology now, but in response, I demanded an apology for Ryan before we even talk. Ryan is hurt, but says I should have just stayed quiet or left. He said he doesn't want to be the reason my relationship with my sister gets ruined as well as my family, but my family think I'm the one who messed up. Am I the a-hole? Info. Please expand on these disagreements between your partner and your family. It feels like you're purposely leaving out or downplaying important parts of the story. That could potentially explain exactly why your sister didn't want him at her wedding, and why every single family member involved in planning the wedding played along with her lie about no +1s. When you leave out context, you automatically look like the one in the wrong. The fact that Ryan handled this exclusion with maturity and encouraged Opie to go without him indicates he's likely okay. Sister is the a-hole. She got exactly what she deserved. Like I said, they have a number of disagreements. My family always make comments about his occupation, which is in law enforcement. He's a cop. Ryan always takes those comments as a joke and tries to ignore them. But my sister is mainly the one with heavy dislike towards him. Why are you avoiding saying what the full issues between them are? Do you feel like some of your family's concerns about your partner might be valid? Why are you trying to retrofit the situation to your biases? You've got the information you asked for and still want to push for more dirt. She was tricked. He supported her and attempted to de-escalate tensions in the past. Not stay home on this and even the pregnancy announcement in the heat of the moment. Not stay home. This is the only time I will say that announcing a pregnancy at someone else's event is okay. She lied. She got caught. To hell with decorum. Sometimes you need to slap back. Yep. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Totally unrelated to this thread, but just wanted to say I really needed to hear this today. Thank you, internet stranger. What your sister did was cruel. It was a giant middle finger to you and Ryan. If her wedding was ruined, it was because of her own petty behavior. She and other family members who are angry at you are putting appearances before family. Not stay home. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to my brother's wedding because of what the bride did to me? I've always been close to all 3 of my siblings. My oldest brother, Colin, pretty much raised us due to serious neglect and parentification. I realize what a sacrifice that is, and that he should not have been doing all he did. We are all no contact with our mother. Colin is engaged to Darcy. Our mom briefly dated Darcy's dad. Very briefly. We were never anything close to step-siblings, and Colin was living at college at the time. Darcy was the most popular girl at school, and she could be really mean. I know her family was crazy toxic, and she was lashing out, but still no excuses to bully. Darcy didn't like that her dad was dating a woman with kids. And Darcy and I got into a verbal argument once because we were home alone at her dad's house, and she announced my family's trashy, social climbers, and my mom is cheap. We got into it and said some mean stuff. Apparently, it hurt Darcy's feelings. So her and her friends set up a prank at school and had a popular boy like ask me to prom, and a few days before told me it was a joke. Colin was pissed, but a few hours away at college. My other brother did try to avenge me, which led to our mom and her dad breaking up. But Darcy's dad already had his next girlfriend lined up, so that was inevitable. Colin and Darcy reconnected years later and have been together for 3 years, and the wedding is in May. I know it might sound petty, but I was a shy, insecure girl, and what she did gutted me. Darcy has apologized. Colin thinks I should forgive her because she was a kid, and she was acting how her dysfunctional parents taught her to act and has since grown up. I told him I was sorry, but I just couldn't go. To be honest, it brings up a lot of my insecurities, and I don't want to see her get this huge princessy wedding with everyone fawning over her. My sister thinks I should let it go. My other brother loves Darcy and treats her like a sister. Darcy recently sent me a text about she's sorry, but I'm being awful to Colin, and how he had no childhood because he was trying to protect me from our insane mother, and how we shouldn't have been walking to the store at 12 to make sure I could eat. And after all of that, I owe him this. I've yet to reply, and I keep going back and forth about if I'm being an a-hole or not. Now for the comments. Not an a-hole. The fact that Darcy sent you this text to guilt you shows she's still a cold bully. You do not need to go if you think it will traumatize you further. This, the only and only sign that people are sorry and wants forgiveness, is if they are willing to take on the responsibility/consequence of their actions. She just wants absolution, which means just wants to sweep everything under the rug. Right? Like, or only you are the a-hole ignoring the guilt-tripping text. She really hasn't matured that much if she's trying to manipulate you to go to the wedding. Does your brother know that she sent that text? Not stay home. Whether you go to the wedding and whether you decide to forgive her are both totally up to you, and any decision you make would be perfectly valid. But you might want to consider how much you're willing to let her past actions impede having a close relationship with your brother, now and in the future. This. I get your reasons for avoiding Darcy, but be cautioned that you may lose your brother in the process, since she seems pretty collected at painting you as a villain in the story. Also, attending the wedding and forgiving her are two totally different things. Just because you attend a wedding for your brother's sake doesn't mean you are welcoming her with open arms into the family. They've been together for 3 years. Why haven't you already hammered out these issues before now? Before a wedding was even in the picture? Are you not that close with your brother anymore? I understand that. With world events, lots of people aren't as close as they used to be, or as close as they would have been. But 3 years ago, did you not pull him to the side and go, "Bro, your new girlfriend did this horrible thing to me, and I don't think I can get past it even for your sake"? Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my mom out of my wedding because she predicted our divorce? My mom and I used to have a good relationship, but she doesn't really mesh with my new wife, so she pulled away a lot. I did stand up for my wife when there was an issue, not too often, but my mom seems okay with the distance, and says she just feels weird around us and it's probably best not to push it. This seems like a weird thing for a mother to say, but she's always been kind of emotionally immature. My mom was of course invited to my wedding. She had no part in the planning or anything because their taste could not be more polar opposite, and I really hadn't seen her in a while due to being busy. She was nice and polite and everything went smooth. But someone overheard my mom's husband make a joke that he gives us 2 years, and my mom responded that she felt we would divorce or that our relationship would just suck, because we fed each other cake with forks. My mom admitted it was just her pet peeve, which is why I might be overreacting, but she said she hates when couples do that, and it seemed so cold and robotic. I did confront my mom, and she laughed and asked if we had people spying on her. I said a friend of my wife's overheard and let me know so I could handle it. It asked why she would joke like that. My mom said she was just talking to a few people, and it might be irrational, but everyone has those little rational things, and she thinks feeding with a fork just looks so bad and cold. I told her she needed to leave, because she disrespected the wedding. She said okay and left without an issue, but I did try to communicate a week later and she only gives one-word answers. And other family members have said I'm an a-hole. Is there another way to eat cake that I'm not aware of? I think a lot of couples do it with their hands when they feed it to their new spouse. The mother thought the fork was less personal contact. Sometimes they shove it right into the spouse's face, usually with great general hilarity from the drunks at the reception. I find that in bad taste, so be your bad self and use a fork. What the heck? Why is that friend trying to stir the pot? And why are you letting her? It wasn't quite poor taste for your mother to make that comment. It was in poor taste for that friend to approach the groom and bride during the wedding and try to start drama. The friend should have shut up until after the wedding, and preferably after the honeymoon. This conversation should not have taken place during the wedding, considering it was a single comment and it wasn't being disruptive, even if it was disrespectful on her and her husband's part. She sucks, her husband sucks. The friend does not have the ability to evaluate the situation and know that certain things are better off mentioned at a later date. How does the groom suck for not wanting people shutting on his relation on his wedding day? If anyone in my wedding was speaking loud enough that other people could hear about my future divorce on my wedding day, I'd want them to leave too. It's rude and straight up disrespectful. Not stay home. It's an incredibly poor taste to talk about a couple's relationship failing at their wedding to other guests. She's entitled to her opinion and private conversation with her husband, but talking to a few people at your wedding? That is beyond rude. Not stay home. She expressed her hope your relationship would have an unpleasant end at your own wedding. She played a stupid game and won a stupid prize. She's just upset she got caught, so she's hiding under a joke. Update 2. Am I the a-hole for going behind my wife's back and telling her pregnant sister that she's being cheated on? Link to the first part of this saga in the description. Now for the second update. Many people ask me for an update, and I also need some outsider perspectives in my situation, so here it goes. Before I start, I want to clarify something for the people who kept calling me names for telling my sister-in-law the truth. Why do you think I should have minded my own business? She's family, and if family doesn't look out for each other, then who else will? Strangers? This isn't just some harmless or small lie for my brother-in-law. It's life-changing. My sister-in-law isn't just my sister-in-law. She's my friend. If I hadn't told her the truth, my POS brother-in-law would have just kept cheating, and I would have lost a friend if I had delayed any longer. Now for the update. My sister-in-law only stayed at my place for 2 days. After that, she called me and said she didn't want to trouble me anymore and was going to stay at a hotel. I tried to convince her not to waste her money unnecessarily, but she didn't listen and left anyway. And yes, I am divorcing my wife. After a week of no contact, she called me and said she wanted to reconcile. She told me she was angry that I didn't listen to her and went behind her back. She said she didn't want to break her sister's family and had planned to convince my brother-in-law to stop cheating. But she claimed I had messed everything up. She said she was coming back. I told her to come over because I wanted to talk to her in person. This isn't the kind of thing you discuss over the phone. When my wife arrived and started explaining herself, I told her I was filing for divorce. She was shocked and said we could make it work. I told her we couldn't. I said, I don't trust you after everything you said, and you left me with no contact. I was worried all day about where you were, if you were safe, etc., and now you suddenly show up? I can't make it work. She tried to convince me not to go through with a divorce, but I had already made up my mind. I told her that her sister had stayed at our place for 2 days, and she got angry, saying, fine, let's divorce, and left. I told my sister-in-law that I'm getting a divorce. She wasn't happy about it, but she didn't try to convince me one way or the other. I also told her she could stay with me instead of wasting money on a hotel. She said it was inappropriate, but I told her, either you waste your money and struggle or you can accept my help. So, my sister-in-law and I have been living together for the past couple of days. We've discussed our spouses and their behavior, and we're both pretty angry about everything. My sister-in-law is even angrier than I am. She ended up calling my wife, calling her names, and told me she's hell-bent on ruining my brother-in-law. She is divorcing him and plans to go nuclear. She wants as much money as possible in alimony and child support. She wants to drain him. My wife and I haven't spoken since she left, and we both know the divorce is happening. My sister-in-law, though still angry, has started to calm down because it's unhealthy for her and the baby. She's now focusing on her career and reading stories about single moms. She's preparing herself. So that's all for now. And to the weirdos out there, stay away. Neither my sister-in-law nor I have any romantic feelings for each other. I'm just helping her because she needed support, which is why she hesitated so much in accepting my help. Call me a moral police if you want, but I know I did the right thing, not just for my sister-in-law but for myself as well. Now I know exactly what kind of woman my wife is. Did your wife ever tell you where she went? I find it interesting that she has a place where she can just go for an extended period of time and nobody knows where she went to. She went to the guy who she was having an affair with. He did not want anything serious, hence why she came back. Smart to divorce this woman. I don't know and I don't care. I had mixed feelings. I love my wife and tried to stop her from leaving. Tried to convince her, but she left anyway. Well, I was worried all day every day about my wife, wondering where she was, if she was safe, if she had eaten. She never contacted me after she left, and her family didn't know where she was either. But no matter how much I love her, it's better if I just divorce her. I've lost all trust in her, not just because she wanted to hide my brother-in-law's cheating, but also because she said she would expect me to forgive her if she cheated and that she would forgive me if I cheated. I don't want that. None of this. Besides, if a pregnant woman can put her emotions aside, think for herself and take steps to move forward, then I should do the same. I need to cut out the toxicity and restart my life instead of constantly worrying. In a way, she kind of inspired me. I'm so sorry you're having to go through this. Not the a-hole, but please get support from whoever you can and continue providing support to your sister-in-law. Wishing you the best going forward. Thanks. I got my parents' support, but they won't pick sides. After all, we both are their children and we are fighting, which is understandable. My mom calls me every day at least thrice to check up on me. Me and my sister-in-law support each other and talk a lot. I am in pain, but her pain is unimaginable. She's pregnant and found out her baby's father is a cheat. Also low on money and ashamed to seek help. Yes, she's no longer my sister-in-law, but my friend. I'll try my best to support her. Though she's so much in pain, she's thinking about herself and her child. Women are truly strong, especially when they are pregnant indeed. Next story. Am I the a-hole for considering ending my not terrible marriage because being a step-family just isn't working? My husband, 40 male, was a widower when we met. I, 36 female, was a single woman who had never been married before. My husband has a daughter, April 13, from his first wife. April was 5 when her mom died, 7 when my husband and I met, 8 when she and I met, and 11 when we got married. Things with April were okay before I got pregnant. And by okay, I mean we weren't very close. She didn't call me mom or say she loved me, but we got along well. And she said she had no issues with us getting married. She was even in the wedding as her dad's best person. All was good. Then I got pregnant with our son, who is now 4 months old, and everything changed. She was furious when she found out we were expecting. She told us she would not be okay with it, and asked her dad how he could do that to her and her mom. From that moment on, she became hostile toward me, very angry, and lashed out at me, my husband, and anyone who tried to say she was going to be a big sister or referred to our son as her little brother. We got her into therapy and even did family therapy. April refused to speak. We tried to find a therapist who would click with her, but she still wouldn't talk. Eventually, we found a therapist who got her to speak one time, but she only said she didn't want to work with us or make things better. She refused to say why or answer any questions the therapist asked. She didn't address it with her individual therapist either. They worked on other issues instead, but that hasn't been enough to help her come around. People said that once our son was born, once she saw him, she'd fall in love with him and go back to how she was before. That hasn't happened. She's aggressively against anything to do with him. She has never held him, and we don't have any family photos of the 4 of us together. It breaks my husband's heart. He has talked to her and disciplined her, but it hasn't made a difference. She screams that he's not her brother, and even refuses to call him her half-brother, saying he's not my sibling at all. I can't speak to her at all now. The nice relationship we had is gone, and that makes me sad too. The situation isn't working, and our home no longer feels like a home. It feels like a house on the verge of collapse. I'm not sure I want to stay married and continue trying to figure this out for another 5 years. I don't see any hope for it to get better, and even though my son will still have to be around, maybe having 50% of the time in a loving home would be better. I'd be happier, even though I love my husband. When I confided in a friend, she told me I can't give up this quickly and that I'm not giving it enough time to get better. Am I the a-hole? People said that once our son was born, once she looked at him, she'd fall in love and go back to how she'd been before. I just have to ask, who the hell were these delusional people? Look at him and fall in love. Really? That's something you say to a nervous, soon-to-be parent. These people couldn't have had any real experience with this kind of situation. It rarely happens that older siblings, especially those who are vehemently opposed to the baby and want nothing to do with them, suddenly flip a switch just because they see the new kid. They don't look at the baby and think, "Aw, how cute, I love them so much." They look at the baby and think, "This is the drooling, puking crap monster that's turning my world upside down." Not just that, but she won't be the only little queen bee anymore. My older sister threw me out of the window as a baby and tried to harm me all throughout my childhood. Be careful. No judgment, but I'd be concerned about your son being with her during your husband's custody time with him if you divorce. Just something to consider since she is part of the household. And honestly, it sounds as if you would be giving her what she wants, which I don't know if that's a good thing. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my husband to prioritize our family tradition over his new friendship? My husband, 35 male, and I, 32 female, have a small but meaningful tradition we started during the first year of our marriage. It's nothing major, but it's important to me. Every November, on the weekend before Thanksgiving, we take a day trip to a lakeside town about an hour away. We spend the day walking, talking, and picking out a new ornament for our Christmas tree, something meaningful to our year. It's just one day, but it's one of those things that makes the holiday season special for us. Recently, my husband became great friends with a guy from his gym. They hit it off quickly, and I think it's great because my husband doesn't make new friends easily. His friend seems like a genuinely nice person and shares a lot of my husband's interests, like hiking and gaming. I know it's refreshing for my husband to have someone he clicks with so well. Here's the issue. My husband's friend invited him on a weekend trip during the exact same weekend as our tradition. My husband seemed hesitant to bring it up at first, but eventually he asked if I'd be okay with rescheduling our tradition to another weekend so he could go with his friend. I was caught off guard and told him it kind of hurt my feelings that he'd even consider moving it. He told me it wasn't a big deal for us to just go another weekend, and it's right in the sense that it wouldn't really affect anything logistically. But this trip has always felt like our thing. It's not that I don't want him to have fun or make new friends, but I feel like he's minimizing something that's special to us, or at least special to me. When I told him that, he looked surprised and then frustrated, saying I was overreacting. He eventually agreed to keep the weekend for our tradition, but I could tell he was disappointed, and I feel guilty about that. Part of me wonders if I'm being stubborn about a little ritual that maybe only I care about as much as I do. So, am I the a-hole for asking him to prioritize our tradition over his new friend? Edit. I saw some people asking how long we've been married. We've been married for 6 years, and we've been doing this tradition since our first year together. Always on the same weekend. A lot of people have asked why this specific weekend matters so much to me. I think it's because we've kept this tradition on the same weekend for over 6 years, and for me, the timing feels like an integral part of the tradition itself. It's become a marker for the start of the holiday season in my mind, and changing it feels like it would lose some of the meaning behind it. Info. While I think it's super nice your husband made a friend, he's currently blinded by the honeymoon phase of friendship. Does he actually enjoy the trip, or is he doing it because he wants to do it? He's kept the weekend open every year without me having to remind him, and we always have a great time. That said, he hasn't explicitly said how important it is to him or how much he enjoys it. I've expressed to him how much it means to me though, so I'm guessing it may feel more significant to me than it does to him. That's part of why I'm second-guessing myself. Maybe I've been assuming we were on the same page about it being our thing without ever checking in with him about how he feels. I don't see how changing the weekend you go will change the tradition though. To some people, changing weekends is fine. Others need to celebrate on certain days. My wife's father's side does Thanksgiving a week early every year so everyone can make time for their other family on Thanksgiving. I know others that get upset if you try to celebrate their birthday on the closest weekend rather than the actual date. Update after a few hours. I want to thank everyone who shared their opinions. After reading the comments and giving myself some time to reflect, I decided to talk to my husband again. I told him I felt bad about how things went earlier and that I didn't mean to make him feel like I'm keeping him on a leash. I also explained why our little tradition feels so special to me and how I've always seen that weekend as our weekend. He admitted that he hadn't realized how much it meant to me. He said he'd been excited about the trip with his friend because it was the first time in a long while that someone had reached out to him like that, and he didn't want to let that slip away. We both agreed that we could have handled the conversation better and that neither of us wanted the other to feel like their feelings didn't matter. As mentioned earlier, we've decided to stick to our tradition this year as planned, and my husband is going to plan a weekend trip with his friend in January after the holidays are over. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my sister to have her birthday party in my house? My husband, 26 male, and I, 24 female, recently bought our first home, and we've worked incredibly hard to get here. We don't come from money, and everything we have, we've earned ourselves. We are very close to my side of the family and see them nearly every day. I've always kind of been the black sheep of the family because I'm the only one who has set boundaries. Anyway, a week after my husband and I moved in, my sister, 26 female, sent me an invitation to her birthday party, which she planned to hold at our new house. I want to note that she had briefly asked me about hosting the party here a few days earlier, and I told her I wasn't sure because we still had a lot of unpacking to do. Clearly, that wasn't a concern for her, as she went ahead and sent out the invitation days later, inviting extended family who live several hours away and would need to stay a night or two. Since we're still settling in, we don't have extra beds or much furniture yet, and my husband and I didn't feel ready to host what felt like a large gathering so soon, especially since we haven't even planned a housewarming party yet. Both of us work full-time and have limited time to unpack, so things are moving slowly. I told my sister that we'd be open to having a smaller, more intimate celebration, just immediate family and maybe one or two close friends. I also explained that this move has been a huge transition for me, and I'm still getting used to the new city and lifestyle. While I wanted to celebrate her, I didn't feel ready for a big party. After that, she stopped responding to me. The next day, I went to my parents' house during my lunch break and my dad came outside to tell me that they didn't want to see me. He said I was being selfish for turning down my sister's request and that I had hurt the whole family. Now my family refuses to speak to me until I apologize. And they've called me ungrateful and a narcissist. I don't know if I was in the wrong, if I made a big deal out of it, or if I unintentionally hurt my family. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. No wonder you've had to set boundaries with your family. It's utterly ridiculous that they feel like she's entitled to your space like this. You'd best contact those extended family members before they make travel arrangements, because it doesn't sound like she's going to. Or at best, she'll tell them it's cancelled and it's all your fault, so you look terrible. The entire family seems like they're a-holes, to be honest. Who in their right mind demands someone's house for their own private celebration, then badmouth to everyone? What a nightmare. Not the a-hole. You never said yes. You said that you would have to think about it. Your sister is the one who jumped the gun and started planning and inviting people. I don't understand your dad's comments about you hurting the whole family. That makes no sense. Definitely don't apologize. You've done nothing wrong. Would not be surprised at all if the parents were the origin of, "Our place is too small for that. Why not at your sister's new place? You can have your big party over there."